Good morning, my fellow. Calm, patient, tranquil patriots. Did you really think mostly peaceful protests were a thing of the past now that the evil orange Trump is no longer in office? Oh no, it's just not making the news. Take a look at this from, of course, Portland. I'm using the Daily Mail because, honestly, I've looked through a bunch of stories and this one gives the best information. Rioters tore through Portland, causing more than $500,000 worth of damage. But cops did nothing because woke new law stops them from using pepper spray or tear gas. Angry residents ask, does that mean we are now like a lawless city? No, it doesn't mean you're like a lawless city. It means you are a lawless city, you dolt. Feet, don't fail me now. All right, let's take a few pictures of this mostly peaceful protest. Amazingly enough, all the stories seem to honestly call it a riot. Imagine that. Well, since it didn't make the main news stories, I doubt you've heard about it, but let's take a look at a picture or two or three of this riot. Of course, the first picture is of a dumpster on fire. Isn't that indicative of all Antifa riots? Let's go on. Let's read the caption for this one. We see all these overturned dumpsters. It looks like a mess. Police stood idle as rioters destroyed the city, setting a new law that prevents law enforcement from using means of crowd control like pepper spray, tear gas, or incapacitating projectiles. I think that means rubber bullets to you and me. One more picture. This caption reads, violence broke out after a memorial for Sean Keeleher, an Antifa activist who was struck and killed by an SUV in October 2019 after getting in a fight with the driver at a bar earlier that night. We'll talk more about this later, but remember that this man got into a fight with the driver. They were obviously in some bar frequented by Antifa, and they had a disagreement, possibly about what building they were going to burn down next, or who they were going to target next, and the disagreement between these two Antifa members got out of hand. Why do I think this was two Antifa members that tried to off each other? I'll get into that a little later. Now let's take a look at the asshole that died. This is the idiot right here. And he comes by it honestly. The acorn really doesn't fall far from the tree. There have not been any arrests made in connection to Keeleher's death. His mother, Laura, blames police for not bringing her son's killer to justice. Keeleher is pictured above. Now she's blaming police. The police have no clues. They haven't been able to identify the killer. His friends that were drinking with him at the bar, they can't identify the man. Odd, isn't it? The vehicle that was left at the scene after he was run over, they haven't been able to identify the driver of that vehicle? Something just doesn't smell right, does it? And this riot was, well, let's take a look at the next news story. Yeah, his mother organized the violent Antifa riot to honor her son. I told you the acorn didn't fall far from the tree. They're both nuts. I want to honor my son by burning down the city. Even though it was Antifa that killed Antifa, I'm going to blame the police because the police weren't able to beat the truth out of his friends to identify his killer. His friends refused to identify the killer. So the mother blames the police. Of course she does. Now remember earlier where it says that they got into a fight and then the guy ran them down later on? There's far more to the story than that. Let's take a look. Portland anti-fascist activists killed and hit and run outside Cider riot. Portland police say a prominent anti-fascist activist was killed early Saturday near Cedar Riot, a northeast Portland pub and a popular gathering spot for left-wing protesters. You see, this bar was a gathering hole for the Antifa rioters. It was Antifa turning on each other. Let's go on now that we know it was Antifa attacking Antifa. Sean D. Kelleher was hit by an SUV a little after midnight. Friends drove him to the hospital where he died. Someone fired shots at the SUV after it hit Kelleher, and the vehicle crashed by the headquarters of the Oregon Democratic Party. Let me put an extra doubt to that. There is no videos of anybody firing at the vehicle. We just have to take, I don't know, police's word, a made-up story? I have no idea. What if somebody fired at the vehicle before it hit Mr. Kelleher and he aimed the vehicle at the person who was firing at it? Makes your noggin to joggin', doesn't it? Let's take one more look at a slightly different version of this story. On Saturday, October 12, 2019, at 12:14 a.m., Portland police officers were dispatched to a report of gunshots heard in the area of Northeast 8th Avenue and Davis Street. Responding officers received additional information that the driver crashed the vehicle into a building. When officers arrived, they found an SUV crashed into the side of a commercial building and no one around. Officers also located evidence of gunfire into the crashed vehicle. There you have it. The police don't know when these rounds were fired. Were they fired before or after the vehicle hit the asshole on the left? This idiot was out drinking with his Antifa friends. At least one of his friends turned on him, or he turned on his friend. He might have been the gunman, like I said, firing at the vehicle, and the vehicle might have run him down in self-defense. We'll never know the true story of this man, why he died. We do know he was drinking with friends. He had a fight in this left-wing bar with one of his friends. Gunfire ensued. He was hit and run over by a vehicle. That ensued. You know, Sean.
Police, get what you fucking deserve!
Yeah, that's right.